All right, so we're diving deep into a Premier League match this time, and one that on paper, might not have been the most exciting match. Fulham versus Manchester United.
Yeah.
You'd think easy win for Man U, right?
You'd think so, but as we're going to see, this one had some twists and turns you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of like set the scene for everyone, Man U went into this match having lost 6 of their last 9 games.
Right.
Not exactly riding high.
No, not at all. They were the underdogs, believe it or not. In this
Really?
one. Yeah.
Wow. So picture this. You're in the stadium, the energy's electric, and Man U comes out playing super defensively, almost like they were aiming for a draw.
Yeah.
So what was the thinking there?
Well, Ruben Amorim, their manager, clearly wanted to shore up their defense, make them hard to break down. Fulham had a lot of possession, especially in that first half, but Man U were disciplined.
Right.
Compact. They were frustrating Fulham's attempts to find any clear openings.
Yeah. I can almost hear the groans from the Man U fans,
Yeah.
Attack, attack, attack.
Yeah.
They weren't seeing much of that in the first half.
No, not really. But, to be fair to Amorim, this cautious approach did seem to rattle Fulham a bit.
Yeah.
They weren't creating many clear-cut chances despite all that possession.
Okay, so it's really interesting. It's like a tactical battle of wills here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then the turning point comes. It's the 42nd minute, and Lisandro Martínez scores the only goal of the match.
Yeah. And a goal that came with its share of controversy as well. Remember that challenge from Martínez earlier in the game?
Oh, yeah.
The one that could have been a red card.
Right.
He stays on the pitch, and then his shot deflects off Sasa Lukic and loops over the keeper.
Talk about a lucky break.
Talk about a lucky break. It really was.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because you know how these things go? Sometimes a bit of luck can really change the entire momentum of a match.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting that, Man U hadn't even managed a single shot on target before that goal.
That's right. That was their first shot on target. And it goes in, it really underlines how few genuine scoring opportunities they created. But, we should say, let's not take anything away from the defensive performance. Holding Fulham to 0 goals is no small feat.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But I have to wonder if playing so defensively is sustainable. Like, can you really build momentum and climb the table if you're not consistently threatening the opponent's goal?
It's a valid question, and it's one that Peter Smith, the Sky Sports analyst, brought up after the match.
Okay.
He said Man U were playing not to lose, and that kind of mentality might not be enough to truly turn their season around.
Okay, so now I'm really curious to dig into Smith's analysis a bit more. Like, what specifically did he say about Man U's attack? What needs to change? Like, what would you do if you were Amorim?
Well, that's where we're heading next. We'll break down the experts' take, look at the manager's post-match comments, and explore whether this 1-0 win was a sign of progress or just a temporary reprieve.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so we're back, and I'm still kind of like hung up on that Peter Smith quote, playing not to lose. Mm-hmm. Does that really sum up Man U right now?
It's a pretty provocative statement for sure, and it gets to the heart of what I think a lot of Man U fans are grappling with. They see these glimpses of what the team could be, but then there's this underlying frustration. It's almost like a car with a, sputtering engine.
Yeah.
It's got the power, but something's holding it back.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy, actually. So let's unpack Smith's analysis a bit more.
Yeah.
He's known for kind of going beyond just the basic stats. So did he have any numbers to kind of back up his claim that Man U's attack is lacking?
He did, and this is where it gets interesting for, the real football nerds like ourselves.
Okay.
Smith pointed out that, while Fulham had 60% possession, they only managed 0.8 expected goals, which basically means the quality of their chances wasn't that high.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. Man U's expected goals were even lower at just 0.5.
Wow. Okay, so even though they won the stats, it kind of suggests they weren't actually creating that many truly dangerous opportunities.
Yeah. Exactly. And that feeds into this whole narrative that they were playing too cautiously, too focused on, simply not conceding.
Right.
Smith argues that, this approach might work in isolated games, but it's not a recipe for long-term success.
So what's the solution then? What does Man U need to do to shift from playing not to lose to actually playing to win?
Well, Smith didn't really offer any magic bullets, but he did highlight a couple of key areas.
Okay.
Firstly, he thinks they need more creativity in midfield.
Right.
They need players who can unlock defenses, create those incisive passes that lead to, high quality chances.
Yeah, it makes sense. They definitely seem to be lacking that spark in the final third.
Right. And secondly, he thinks they need to be more clinical in front of goal.
What?
Even when they did create, half chances, they weren't converting them.
Okay, so more creativity in midfield, more clinical finishing. Got it. So let's hear what the managers had to say after the match. Did their comments align with this analysis?
Well, Ruben Amorim, as you might expect, was pretty pleased with the win. He really emphasized the team's fighting spirit, their defensive solidity. He even said this wasn't pretty, but sometimes you need to win ugly.
I kind of love that win ugly. It shows he's pragmatic at least. But did he acknowledge the need for improvement in attack?
No, directly. He focused more on the positives, praising the players for their work rate, their discipline. But reading between the lines, you could sense a recognition that they need to find a way to be more threatening going forward.
And what about Marco Silva, the Fulham manager? He must have been frustrated.
He was. He definitely felt his team deserved more from the game.
Yeah.
He pointed to their dominance in possession, the fact that they created more chances, even if those chances weren't of the highest quality.
But he also had to admit that luck wasn't on their side, right? I mean, that deflected goal.
He did acknowledge that, he said sometimes the game is decided by small details, and today those details went against us. But he also emphasized that his team, needs to be more ruthless in front of goal.
Yeah.
He said we need to be more clinical, more decisive when those opportunities arise.
So both managers seem to recognize that, while the result wasn't ideal, there were positives to take away from the performances, but there's also a shared acknowledgement that improvements are needed.
Precisely. And that brings us back to, the central question of this deep dive. Can Manchester United turn their season around?
Right. So far, we've seen evidence to support both sides of the argument. They got the win, but their performance raised questions about their attacking capabilities.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so intriguing. It's not a simple black and white situation. There are nuances, complexities, and it's still too early to say definitively which direction they're headed.
But before we kind of jump to conclusions, we need to consider another crucial element, like the individual performances. After all, football is a team sport, but it's also about those moments of individual brilliance.
Absolutely. And speaking of individual brilliance, there's one moment in this match that I think deserves special attention.
Yeah.
A moment that I think perfectly encapsulates the drama, the tension, the raw emotion of the beautiful game.
You talk about that last-minute save from Toby Collier, right?
The one and only 89th minute Fulham are pushing for an equalizer, and Collier, a 21-year-old substitute, pulls off this heroic goal line clearance.
I remember being 21 to have that kind of pressure, that responsibility in such a crucial moment. It's incredible.
Yeah.
What did you think of that save?
It was instinctive, athletic, and absolutely vital. It secured the win for Man U, but I think more importantly, it showcased Collier's potential.
Yeah.
This wasn't just a good save, it was a statement.
Right.
A statement that this young player is ready to step up and contribute at the highest level.
Yeah, it's moments like that that can really define a career, wouldn't you say?
Without a doubt. And it also speaks to the depth of talent that Man U has even amidst their struggles.
Right.
They have young players eager to prove themselves, hungry for success.
Okay, so we've got tactical analysis, manager reactions.
Yeah.
And now this individual brilliance. It feels like we're getting a much clearer picture of Man U's current state.
We are, and in our final segment, we'll try to piece it all together.
And we'll look at what these individual performances combined with the tactical trends and the manager's vision. Tell us about Man U's future prospects. Can they build on this win, or are they, as Peter Smith suggested, simply delaying the inevitable?
Okay, so final segment of our deep dive, and we've broken down the tactics, we've dissected the manager's comments, and even rewound that incredible save from Toby Collier.
It was something else.
It really was. But, here's the million-dollar question. What does it all mean for Man U's future?
Yeah, can they turn this ship around?
Can they?
I mean, that's what we're here to kind of ponder. And to be honest, it's a tough one to call. We've seen evidence, I think, pointing both directions.
Yeah, exactly. On the one hand, you've got the win, the clean sheet, those flashes of individual brilliance like Collier's save that has to count for something, right?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
You can't discount the psychological impact of a win, especially for a team that's been struggling like Man U has.
Yeah.
It can boost morale, build confidence, create some positive momentum. And let's not forget, this was against Fulham, a team that's, no slouch.
Right.
They play an attractive attacking style, and they've caused problems for bigger teams this season.
True, but on the other hand, you can't ignore those underlying issues that were exposed, particularly in attack.
Yeah.
Even Amorim admitted it wasn't pretty.
And those expected goal stats that we talked about earlier,
Right.
those are hard to ignore.
Yeah, they paint a picture of a team that's struggling to create, those high-quality chances even when they dominate possession.
Yeah, and it brings us right back to Peter Smith's analysis.
Exactly.
He said, Man U were playing not to lose rather than playing to win.
Right, and if they want to be genuine contenders, that mentality has to change.
So what needs to happen? What would you do if you were in Amorim's shoes?
Well, I think he needs to find a way to inject more creativity and dynamism into their attack.
Okay.
It might involve tactical tweaks, giving certain players more freedom, or perhaps even dipping into the transfer market, bring in someone who can unlock defenses.
Right. And I imagine he'll be using those upcoming cup matches to kind of experiment a bit.
Yeah.
Try different combinations.
Yeah.
See if he can find a formula that works.
For sure.
And who knows, maybe Toby Collier's heroics have earned him a starting spot.
Wouldn't that be something?
It would be a story.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I think the next few weeks will be crucial for Amorim and Man U. It's a chance to build on this win, address those attacking concerns, and show that they're more than just a team that can grind out 1 Euro victories.
Yeah, I agree. And as for Fulham, I think they'll be fine. They're a well-coached team with a clear identity. They just need to be a bit more clinical in front of goal.
I think so, too. I think they've got a lot to be positive about. So, a match that on the surface seemed pretty straightforward has actually revealed a whole lot, I think, about both teams.
Yeah, for sure.
Given us tactical insights, managerial perspectives, and these moments of individual brilliance that'll be talked about, for weeks to come.
And it's left us with more questions than answers. Will Man U rise to the challenge? Can Fulham find their scoring touch? Only time will tell, but that's the beauty of football, isn't it? The uncertainty, the drama, the never-ending debate.
Absolutely. And to our listener, we leave you with this. Keep an eye on Man U's next few matches. Pay attention to their attack, their formation, the energy they bring to the pitch. Do they seem like a team that's truly turned a corner, or are they still stuck in that playing not to lose mindset? Let us know what you think. This is a conversation that's far from over.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the highs and lows, the tactical nuances and the individual stories that make football the beautiful game it is.